Hi friends, it's Terri Gaines. In this video tutorial, I'm going to share a pop-up easel card created with the Adventurous Sky Bundle. Yesterday I shared an easel pop-up card created with the Country Birdhouse Bundle and the Country Woods Designer Series paper. Today's project is similar but different than yesterday's project. I'm going to have different image pop up. It's going to be easier to create than the birdhouse is, but it's going to be very similar in the fun fold aspect of the card. I do have a video tutorial for this country birdhouse card and a project sheet you can download. In the text portion of this video and on my blog post, I will link to the blog post to get all the information for the country birdhouse card. But this tutorial, I'm going to use the Adventurous Sky Bundle. The bundle is the stamp set and a dies bundle together for 10% savings, or you can purchase them separately. The stamp set has 13 images. Some of those images can be cut out with the dies. We have some sentiments and a background stamp. You have some additional dies that will create an airplane. This is a very fun bundle to create with, and I love that it has designer series paper to coordinate with it. The designer series paper is 12 by 12 in size. You get 2 each of the 6 double-sided prints. They coordinate with Stampin' Up's exclusive colors, which are available in ink pads, cardstock, blends, and a variety of other product. I love that the designer series paper has these airplanes all colored in because that's my inspiration on how I color these in. So ahead of time for the decorative images, I've stamped and cut out the large airplane and colored it in. I cut one of the medium, stamped and cut a medium, and 2 of the smaller airplanes. These are going to be parts of the decorating of the card. I'm also going to be using one of the designer series paper prints for the card. I have a PDF that you can download for the measurements of this card, and it will link you to this video. This is the instruction video. The beauty of the video is you can pause, you can rewind, you can rewatch, and it's going to give you all the instructions so you can duplicate this card. I'm going to start out by scoring all the materials. The card base is 11 by 4 1/4, and it is scored at 4 3/8 and at 8 7/8. These are different measurements than yesterday's card, so you do want to note on that. So what I do is I score one side, and because this card is going to be folded mountain and then refolded valley, I'm going to flip this over and score the other side of the cardstock. That burnishes both sides, and it will help for the different folds on this card. So then we have a pop-up panel. This is 8 3/4 by 2 3/4. It is scored at 1/2 inch. And it doesn't matter what end I start, but I do want to let you know it's directional this way. So I do have the designer series paper in this direction, and I have a solution for how it's, just stay tuned. So the orientation is like this. It's going to be in the card like this. So that's why I've cut the clouds in that design. So I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. I use the larger end on my stylus. It's at 1/2 inch. It's at 4 3/8 inch, and it's at 8 1/4. I also flip this over and burnish the other side of the designer series paper at the very same measurements, and this burnishes both sides of the paper, and I usually do that all the time on designer series paper. So then I'm going to move this out of the way for now, and we're going to work with these 2 pieces. So this is the card base. So we have this fold and this fold. So the card is going to open like this. This will be the front of the card. It will open like this, and it's going to do the easel like this. So in saying that, we're going to take a bone folder. When you recreate this, you're going to take a bone folder, burnish this way, then open it up and burnish it this way. If you watched yesterday's tutorial, you will notice and remake that card. This panel and this panel are the very same size, so you have a little bit of buckling when you close it. I changed the measurement so I have a little gap here. This panel is 1/8 of an inch shorter than the middle panel. It's going to allow it to lay flatter. So that's one of the differences from yesterday's tutorial to today's tutorial. Now for this pop-up panel, we have a 1/2 inch tab on both sides. We're going to fold those in, and then you have one right in the middle. So I'm going to fold that in half. So I only use my fingers to burnish designer series paper. I feel if we crease it too much, we can crack it. We don't want to crack the designer series paper. So this is going to be the pop-up image. There's a couple things that I would do. If you want to cut this to be a decorative image, you can bring in some dies. I'm actually going to bring in the countryside corner dies, and one of these dies is slightly larger. When you fold this in like this, it's slightly larger in size. That's the one I'm going to use. You don't have to cut this piece, you can leave it as it is. What I'm going to do is cut this, but it's important that the top and the bottom do not cut. So your die has to be larger in height, so you do not cut that. Run that through your die cutting machine, and it will come out like this. And these were tucked underneath because we need to retain those. I am going to work with this one, but I'm telling you that you have both options. So we're going to set that aside, and we're going to set this aside. So we're going to assemble these two, and when you have those tabs inside, it creates these little flags. I'm going to cut those off. We're going to just take paper snips and cut those little triangles off, and then I'm going to put adhesive on here. Yesterday I put the adhesive on before I did my die cutting. Today I'm choosing to put it on after. It doesn't matter, only way it does matter, you get added bulk when you add the adhesive before you die cut it. Now I'm using the Terri tape. I love using the Terri tape. It's a strong adhesive. It's got a backing on it that stays on it until I am ready to adhere it. So we have this, and as I mentioned earlier, these clouds are the right direction. These are upside down. So for the ones that are upside down, I'm going to put a label on top of there and just have that for signing the card. So I'm going to grab my double-sided adhesive, and this will be for where you sign the card. I'm going to add this now. And then also when I attach this, I'm going to show you a prototype when I'm all done putting this card together, and you'll understand why this next step is happening. I'm going to adhere the top half of this to this. I'm going to put adhesive on the top half of this so it creates one piece, but leave this open. So I'm going to open this up, put adhesive across here, and adhere this together. So it is one piece here, but you still have this section. So that's about the halfway mark. Now what I'm going to do is open up my card. This is how the card's going to be. This is going to be the front top. You're going to open it up like this. This is the back of the card. This is the front of the card, and it's going to pop up in these two panels right here. So I'm going to place it down. I'm going to put the edge of the tabs here up to the score line, not over it or on it, but up to it. I'm going to look for equal spacing on both sides. And once I feel comfortable where that is, I'm going to take this backing off, and I'm going to close this card. Now it's going to come through and open up like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to decorate the card. The reason I'm going to decorate the card now is because I can look at the perimeter of the card base, and that's where I need to stay inside. For example, I'm going to have this plain hang over, but I don't want to hang it over so much that it sticks out the card. So this is going to let me have the area where I want to stay within my card border. I'm also going to attach these with dimensionals. I'm only going to use 2 dimensionals per item. So I'm going to attach this airplane here. So I'm going to move that and put 1 dimensional on the designer series paper and 1 dimensional over on the airplane. These are very strong. You do not need more than 2 to attach these items. So I have 1 over here and then this one here. So now I can go and say, okay, I'm going to attach that airplane right like that, okay? I'm going to attach this airplane flying this direction. I'm going to consider it the same thing. I want to hang it over a little bit, and I have this area right here, so I'm just going to use my finger as a guide. I'm going to put that dimensional here, and I'm going to put one dimensional on this end. This is my trick so we don't get exposed adhesive. If I put the adhesive or dimensional right here, it's kind of blind and I don't want it to hang over the edge. So that's a tip to make sure you don't have exposed adhesive over the image or over the panel. Then I'm going to attach this one. It's going to fly that direction. Now I'm going to put this circle here. I'm not going to put it on with dimensionals. I'm going to just put this on right flat. What I am going to do is just put some of my Stampin' Seal right here. I can see where it stopped and started. I'm going to put a little bit on the back side of this circle. And then I'm going to adhere this to cover up that. And then I'm going to pop this up with I'm going to put 3 dimensionals on here. And I should grab my Take Your Pick tool. It works good to get these backings off. And then I'm going to put this stamped image right here. I might have failed to mention I'm using Misty Moonlight cardstock, Misty Moonlight ink for this card. So that's what we have so far here. So I like to decorate this before I go on to the next step. The next step is going to be adhering this adhesive to this panel. So what you would do is if you put tear and tape, you have your backing to take off. If you did not use tear and tape, you'd put your adhesive down. And then what you're going to do is just take this panel and close the card. It's going to adhere that. And now your image is going to pop up. And you can see the reason I adhere that together, it puts some stability in that. And I'll show you my first prototype with a different color so you can see this in a different color. So now what we want to do is do some decorating. First we'll start with the inside sentiment. I have already stamped that, have this layer together. And I used the Misty Moonlight cardstock again for this. But what I did here was I took my Misty Moonlight ink, I took my blending brush, and then I added color to this just to darken it a little bit. So you had a little bit of contrast here. So I have this as my sentiment layer. Then we have an outside decorative layer. So we're going to close this. The outside decorative layer is 4 by 3. It's designer series paper, and I'm going to adhere it to the lower section of this front of the card. And this will be that designer series paper. That was my inspiration for how I colored in the airplanes. So I've got that. And then this gets closed like this. Now what we're going to do is we have a label stopper. This is our stopper. And then this is going to be our card latch. I have one more little airplane. What I'm going to do with that is I'm going to adhere this. I'm going to adhere this right here just for some added decoration. I'm going to attach that with a standard dimensional and a mini dimensional. So let me grab those. And you can cut your regular dimensional in half also. Oops, so let me get those off. So I'm going to just add this little airplane right here for an added decoration. So the stopper is attached to this flap right here. I like to attach it with the tear and tape. So I'm going to put a little bit of tear and tape right in the center of this flap as close as I can to the edge. And then I'm going to put this label on top of that. The easel card needs a stopper to allow the card to stand. And what I'm doing here is just covering this enough to cover that adhesive up. And because this opens up like this, and this is our stopper, the further away you can get your stopper, because this panel is not very long, the better your card will stand. So this stopper gets attached with dimensionals. So I'm going to use 4 dimensionals on this going to put one on each end. I'm going to put two in the middle. And this does need to be dimensionals. Just as I mentioned, it is the stopper. It's what's going to hold the card to allow it to stand up. So this is our little stopper. Your card is going to rest on that, and it's going to stand and have it visible like so. So the card latch is what's going to keep the card closed. This card needs a belly band or something. What I like to do is just put a little image right here that's going to help keep it closed. So what I'm going to do is take two mini dimensionals, and I'm going to put them right in the center. I'm going to take the backing off, so they're right below the label, and take the backing off. And then I'm going to put this airplane here where part of the wing and part of the tail overlap on that label to hold it shut. Then you can flex that to open it, and then you have your popped up image, and there you have a Adventurous Sky pop-up easel card. Now, I said I would share my prototype and why I adhered that designer series paper together. This was my prototype. This is using the copper clay. Everything is the same. And you can see when I open up this card, this is left open like that, but it's real wobbly and it might get top heavy because I added quite a bit to this side of the card. So I felt if you adhered that together a little bit, you'd get some stability and it would still stand really nicely. So you have a top view like this, but it stands really nicely and it's a card that's going to display very well. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. As I mentioned, I have a PDF project sheet you can download. Look in the text portion of this video for a direct link to my blog post to download the project sheet. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and happy creating.